Okay, well, hopefully we are back after that mock up, and yeah, we kind of mocked up the start of that. I think I pressed the stop streaming instead of the actual right thing there, but the point being that we have created a blueprint actor event manager, okay, and the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to create an enumerator. Okay, event list. Okay, and we are going to spawn parasites. Then despawn parasites. Then spawn wildlife. Despawn wildlife. We might change this up later. Right, but that's a reasonable starting point. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to have an event dispatcher, right? Which is going to, one of them is going to be despawn mobs. And because of the way this is going to work, there's going to be a mixture of event dispatchers and just plain doing stuff. Okay. So we're going to test this first out. Okay. And we're going to have a custom event. Okay. And we're going to do thing. Well, actually, let's call it the right. Do event, right? And it's going to have a parameter, and it's going to be event type, and that's going to be event list. Apparently I still can't spell very well. Event list. Okay. And despawn mobs we're going to call so we're going to switch okay. So despawn parasites is basically going to throw out our event dispatcher, right? Our spawn, this one is going to be a call. Okay. And our spawn parasites and spawn wildlife are actually going to be handled within the event dispatcher. Okay. Now, what we're going to have to do now is we're going to have to go into our monsters, right? And we're going to have to open this, open our base monster. And we have got a base class for this. So we can do this a couple of ways. We could put this in a we'll do an event begin play. Then we're going to get actor of class, and it's going to be your event manager. Okay. And then we're going to bind to despawn. Oh. Aye, Stormrun, I messed up the... So, we're going to bind to despawn mobs. Okay. And we're going to create a custom event. And that's going to be called despawn. Okay. And then we're going to write another custom event. And we're going to say destroy self. Okay. So to keep this nice and tidy, we're just going to say destroy self. Okay. So, in this case, no, I think I pressed stop streaming instead of switching my mic on, because I'm a doofus like that. So that's going to be destroy actor. Okay. So, next thing we'll have to do is in our interactable items, we have our event manager, right? And we just plonk our event manager anywhere we want. And we should really give it a billboard so that we know what it looks like, but I can't even remember how to do that, to be fair. There is something you can do to give it like an icon on the... But anyway, no worry. Aye, that would do it. That would do it. If you didn't call the print string, it probably won't do it. Right, so we're going to test this. Okay. So what we're going to have to do is bring in a few of our parasite monsters, right? So there you go, we've got 4 of them, right? And we're going to save all at this point. Okay, so our next bundle of joy is going to be just to fire this off, right? So we're going to go up to our little testy bit where we have button pushes, and we've got a 9. Got a 9 and we've got an 8. Right? Which is awesome. So with the 9, we're going to get actor of class. Right? And it's going to be our event manager. and we're going to say do event, and we're going to say despawn parasites. Okay. So what we're doing here is we've got our event manager and it's in the scene now, right, up here. It doesn't really matter where it is as long as it's in the scene or on the level, right? Then we're going to call despawn mobs, okay? So that is then going to trigger this here, which is then going to destroy our actors. Okay, so let's do it, shall we? So we'll stand up. There's our bad guys. So if we press 9, boom. Pretty cool, huh? Now, the interesting thing is we can start tying this to in-game events, right? For example, let's just have a look at the moment, right? Right. So, what we can do is yeah, it's 2:30 where I am. Right, okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to link this to our clock. Okay? So we need to get our clock widget and find out what we're doing with it. Okay, so this is a grid. And this is the clock. Right. So we've got update clock, right? And this gives us a time of day. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to see this, what this value is. 805. Right. So what I'm going to do here is it was 805. We want to truncate this. Right, and we want to say equals now we're going to put a magic number in here, which means putting an actual value in. Right, and what I'll do is I'm going to stick this on the end. Right, but it's just to prove a point here. So if it's 815, what am I talking about? We're going to branch on that. Okay. And if that's true, we get actor of class event manager and then do event, and that's despawn. So now I shouldn't even need to hit a button, right? The clock is going to control when the monsters get despawned, right? So once this hits 8:15, they should disappear. Well, actually 8:10. But there you go. Don't know why it ended up 8:15. Might be that we need to do this. Right. We can tweak this as necessary. Right, okay. So I'm going to put an 820, right, and see what it actually does. Well, that's weird. Well, we'll need to work on that, but that's not the point. The point is that it is actually working, this despawn. Okay. So our despawn works. Now, we could obviously do an effect where you know, where they basically run away from the player. And the reason I would do that is we don't want it that the player can see them. Okay. So, yeah, there's that whole thing. Right. So we can basically do the exact same thing, but for the wildlife, but in our event manager, right, we can do our spawn parasites. Okay. So let's do something with the spawn parasites. So again, what we'll do is we'll check out this clock again, right? And we've got this dynamic sky. So we're going to copy that. Okay. And then what we'll do is go back to our event manager. Now, it's probably going to help here if we have a reference. So we're going to say ref dynamic sky, and I believe this is ultra dynamic sky. Okay, so we're going to do event Creamy Ghost. Hi there, how you doing? So we're going to do an event begin play, and we'll just set up our references, okay? Get actor of class. And this is going to be actually, oh, a bowling game. That's cool. Ultra. Right, it's just an ultra dynamic sky, okay? Right. and then we're going to set this to true. We're going to set it do. Right. We're probably going to have to set up a few references here to a few different things. But anyway, we're going to get our time. Yeah, that's not going to work. It's not going to work, but we could actually just do... Right, I'm going to create a custom event. Right, and we'll just call it timer. Okay. And what we'll do is set timer by function name. Right, we're going to loop at, we're going to hit 1. And we'll change this. Change the name of this slightly to timer check. Okay. And we'll say timer check. Okay. And then what we can do is we can remove this. So we can cut that so that this happens within our event manager. Okay. And we get our ref dynamic sky. Then we get time of day. And then we do that. Okay. So now, if we press play, there we go. Right, so our event handler is doing that stuff. Okay. So what we can do now is basically for the timer check, right? We can do this as a sequence. Okay. We can do the exact same thing here, right? Except we'll change this to 830. We don't need to do that. All we need to do is say spawn parasites. Okay. So the next thing we do is we add a function, and we call it spawn mobs. Right, then we go back to our event graph and we say spawn mobs. Okay, all good. We can test this by adding a breakpoint here. Compile. So if we press play, right, they've disappeared. And you'll notice spawn mobs. Okay. And I'm going to go back to here. So that's the hours. And that's the minutes. Right? So if I copy that and put it in our event manager at this point here, and that's an oopsie. Right, so interesting. We'll set it to 12, right? Because this is just the number, because this is just the minutes, we need to actually sort it. Right, but we are going to go with this and see if this is working properly. Right, so at 12 our monsters should disappear. And we need that. need that. Right, good to go. And how far along in the project are you, Creamy Ghost? Are you just beginning or nearing the end, or what is the state? Right, so we're hoping for 12. Boom. Right. And we're hoping for 30. We can actually bring it down to 20. There we go. So this is firing just before our actual clock, but it is in line. Right, so we're going to cut this down to 20 so that we get something to work. Now, spawn mobs. This is going to be an interesting one. Right. We're going to be doing a while loop. Right. So repeat, executes loop body as long as the condition is true. So we're going to add a local variable. Not found. Not found placement spot. Okay. And that's going to start as true. But just for super safety, we're going to set it to true before we do anything. Our next thing we're going to do and we didn't want to do that. We wanted to add another variable. And that's going to be location. And that's going to be vector. Now, we are going to have a laugh with this to start with, right? So, we are we're going to select a random spot. Right? And then we're going to check if that random spot can see the player. If it can see the player, then we're not going to spawn there, because that means that the player can see them. Okay? which means that the player would see them spawning in. Okay? Which is unacceptable. Okay? So, what we're going to do is, right, we're going to line trace. Right? And probably, maybe not actually. We're probably going to create volumes for this, right? Volumes where you can spawn and can't spawn. Okay, so I think I'm going to do that, right? So what I'm going to do, right, is let's say they can spawn somewhere round about here, right? We want an empty actor. Right, we're going to delete that because we're probably going to have to create some sort of a not a collision box, but just a box, right? So if I create that, we'll just call it spawn volume, right? It's not going to have a tick. It might have a begin play, I'm not 100% sure on that. Oh. Right, so we can't have it as a scene component. Right, okay. Whatever. Whatever. Right, so it's just going to be an actor. BP spawn, damn it. Oh, this is just annoying me now. BP spawn volume. Right. And we're just going to have it as a cube, right? And we're going to have it hidden in game. I'm probably going to have to compile it before we do anything. Right. This is just to stop me having to do a bajillion line traces, Okay. I'm wondering if we could even probably do it as a plane. Right, okay, whatever. You could even kind of do it from the nav mesh. I'll have a look at that later. Right, but basically, let's say 100, 100. Right. And what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to continue this after I grab a quick cigarette. So if you're enjoying the stream, hit like and subscribe. Check out the description for links to my Discord and the games Discord, plus my Patreon and my previous game on Steam. I shall be back in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere, guys. We shall continue. Okay guys, we're back. So let's drag in our spawny volume. Oh, it's a bit big. It's a touch on the big side, just to put it mildly. Right, that's going to be a bit more workable. Right, as I said, this should probably be a plane, right? Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a value inside this on the X and Y, and then I'm going to shoot a line trace down. Okay, so that's the first thing we're going to do, right? Just as a giggle. So in our event manager, right, we are probably not going to do that. Right, we'll worry about that later, right? We're obviously get all actors, we would get all actors of class, right? And it would be these spawn points, right? If I could actually spell properly. We would get all the spawn volumes, right? And we'd pick one. Okay, but what I would do here was actually put them in an array. Can't speak now. Can't speak or type. Things are going downhill fast. Right, I would create an array here, right, so that we're not doing this all the time, but obviously we're in loop body at the moment. So I suppose let's just do this properly, shall we? So we're going to go in our local variables again, and we're going to go ARR spawned. Okay, and it's going to be BP spawn volume. Okay, so we're basically going to set this, and this is going to be an array. Yes, change it. Hey Screen Apple, how are you, mate, today? So we're going to do that. Right. We're going to get our spawn volumes. Now, we can muck about this later to get spawn volumes that are like close to the player or not, because there's no point in spawning stuff if it's miles away. Right, but we can decide on the logic for that later. Right. Anyway. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this. We're going to get the length. Then we're going to get a -1. Then we're going to type int range, because we want a random integer in range. So this is us basically picking a random spawn volume, right? And then we're going to get a copy. And we should probably use this before this, right? Because we don't want to do this every single time. Okay, so we'll worry about this in a minute. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the cube, and we're going to get its bounds, right? And from here we can work out the box extent, right? So what we'll do is we shall break this vector, except we won't, right? And what we'll do is we'll print string, and we'll print this out. I want to see what numbers we get, right? We'll do 30, and then we're going to set this to false. Okay? And then when we get to 20 on seconds, at 12, yep, they disappear, right? And then on 20, we should get a number. So if we resume that, we get 500, 500. So that's fine. Oopsie. Right, so what we do is we get the origin, we break that, right? And the next thing we do is we say random float in range between x wait a minute, I'm going to do that again, right? I want to know, yeah, because it's x and y, right? So the extents are 500, right? Resume that. Yeah, it's 500, right? 500 on the X, 500 on the Y. We're not bothered about the Z. Okay? So, we basically say, stop that just now, plus that so that's the minimum. Sorry, that's the maximum. Right, and we say minus that. And that's the minimum. Okay. Then we do the same again. On the Y. Right, so it's that, and that, and that. Right, so that's wrong. That's right. That one there. Okay. So that's going to give us the X and the Y, right? But what we need to do now is we're going to delete that and delete that. We're going to do line trace. Right? And we're going to start at, let's say, 300. Right? And we're going to split that. And we're going to split that. We'll tidy this up in a minute. Okay, so don't worry. So that's going to be X. That's going to be Y. That's going to be X. That's going to be Y. Z is going to go to minus 100, right? Ignore self, that's fine. We're going to say persistent. Okay. Now, this is just going to get us the ground point, okay? Then, once we've got this location, we're going to add on however many it is to see the player. Or, sorry, we're going to add on the height of the parasitic monster. And then we're going to basically shoot another line trace to the player, okay? And if it hits the player, right, then we can't spawn there, so it's going to do the whole thing again. Okay, that is my thinking on this, but we want to build it up nice and easy. So we should see a line appear somewhere around about here, straight down. Right? And we're going to disable that. Resume. Okay, so where is it? Apparently we don't have a line. Okay, whatever. What we'll do is we shall move her over here. Right, then we are going to go here and we're going to change this to 13. Okay, that should have happened. So let's check this out, shall we, and see what actually happened. Ah, look at that. Our character position is actually at 512, so this is way low. So the actual line is underneath, right? So we're gonna have to bang this up to 1,000. Right. Okay. Do we have a line? Yeah, there it's there. Okay. So basically that is our line positioning. Okay. Now the interesting thing is for our monster, right? If we go to our monster, what about the snow? Right, if we go to the monster, there's one of these has got like an eye level. Is it head? Yeah, it's pretty cool. I've got to admit that. Capsule half height. Could use that, kinda. Crouched eye height, base eye height. Right, 64. Have you never noticed that before? Base eye height. Okay. So the interesting thing here is we've not spawned it, so we can't actually tell it. We're actually going to have to give this, just give it a number. Right? So we're going to have to take this, right? We're going to get the impact point, and we're going to break that vector. Then we're going to add let's say 80, right? Then we're going to make vector okay, we're not going to make a vector, right? But what we're going to do is do another line trace, right? And we're going to get player pawn. Now we're going to, this type of stuff we're going to do right at the start, right? Because we don't want to run it on the loop. We want to set this up so it just gets it once. Okay. So we're going to get actor location, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to recombine that, right? And we're going to make a vector, which is what I wanted to do earlier, even though it wouldn't let me. Right, we've got a little bit of logic at the end here to do. So, yeah, I'm going to move this across a bit. That's going to go there. Then we're going to add in the X and Y. I don't think we're going to do that. Sorry to disappoint. Might be in the special edition. You never know. Right? Could be a Kickstarter stretch goal. Right, so we're going to break the vector. Right, we're going to add 64. We're going to do the same thing for this one. Right, doesn't really matter which way around we do it. Right, we're going to recombine these. We're going to make a struct. Now, we are going to have to logic proof this, that if it doesn't get an answer within X amount of tries, it basically jumps out, right? So the next one we're going to do is we're going to break this hit result. And we're going to get the actor. And then we're going to say has tags. And we're going to say player. And if that is false, if branch if that is false, we're going to jump out. Okay, so basically it's going to start firing line traces out, and if it fails, we're going to change this one, because this should be fun, right? This should be a laugh. It should start firing line traces at me, right? After 20 seconds, and the only way we'll be able to stop it is to run behind like a building or something. Right? So it's actually hit me. Or it actually didn't hit me. Right? So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to move my character back behind the house, right? Because then it shouldn't be able to see me. Right? So, yeah. And if we go here again, right, where is there local variables? Get location. Right, so it was basically this location here. Okay. Right. So in here we're going to say spawn actor, right? And it's going to be parasite monster. Is that right? I don't think that's right. Let me check that. Yeah, it's Parazombie 01. Right? And we split this. we grab that, and that's the location. Okay. So now when we press play, after 12 seconds, or however many it is, right, we should have a monster wandering about at the back. That was weird. Right. That was the wrong place. I picked it from the player, not from this impact point. There we go. Hey, Castle, how are you? Right, so now it should work. Right, so our dispatcher kills all our monsters there, but we should have a monster, and there it is. Unfortunately, it's up in the air, which isn't so great, but yeah, that should have been it. Impact point is okay. We are going to take that, which is the impact. Well, it should be the location. Right, and this is where it hits on the ground. Right? And we shouldn't be using anything for this. Okay. So let's do that again. And if we watch, we should see a line trace. What's the Mega Grant contest? That's cheesy. Right, so it's fired it. Right, but for some reason our impact point, let's see if I think I know what it might be, right? Yeah, it's hitting that. Right, the problem with this is it's got collision on it, right? Yeah, so what makes it cheesy? What's the... I've not seen it, what's the deal? No collision. So as I said before, our event dispatcher is basically killing all our zombies. Right, and there is our attempted hit. Okay, but I am guessing that our monster yeah, it sounds like it, that's for sure. Collision. Adjust location. We might need to adjust this. By however many. Right, see that there, it's also hitting our head. Right, we don't really want that. So we might want to break this vector. And we might want to break this vector. X and Y are fine. Right. But we're going to be adding. So let's say we add 10. I might end up doing this with a capsule half height or something. Right, let's see if it did it this time. Yep, it did. Now, is he on the ground? I'm going to say yeah. Except, I'm going to also say no. Because I can't really see his feet. Now, I don't know if that's to do with the capsule not being very good, or if it's to do with this. Right? But this part here is definitely not so good. So we'll have a look at that. Then we're going to say, well, actually we're going to say persistent for now again, because I want to see where it's trying to hit her. Okay. We're going to say play. Right, so that's a better way of looking at it. And there's our guy. And yep, that's a bit better. Okay. It says BP Event Manager. It's because it ignores self, but to be fair, the Event Manager, it isn't really that anyway. It's the spawn volume. Right? So what we can do is basically well, right, the first thing we want to do is none, then none, okay, and most likely we want a countdown on this, so it only does it for like X amount of times, and if it doesn't get us a spawn point, then we basically move on to the next. Okay. So basically this impact point is correct. We can basically tidy that up a bit by doing that. Right. Now, what we really want to do at this point is set up a table. Excuse me. What we really want to do is at this point set up a data table with event times, right? So that we know what it does. Okay, but we're going to leave that for tonight, so I'll be on later, 8 PM. I may do a little bit more work on this, but as you can see, we have an event generator which can spawn, it can despawn. I can make it do wildlife. I can make it do the same thing with the wildlife, but we want to extend this further, so we'll be doing a bit of that tonight. So if you've enjoyed the stream, hit the like and especially hit that subscribe button, that would really help. Check out the description and join our game Discord for Groenland, and also my personal Discord, and there's also my Patreon and my previous game on Steam. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you tonight, 8 PM. Bye bye for now.